crayon doesn't fade the way ink does. 7 years in a kitchen drawer, and the drawing still burns orange and blue. A stick figure man under a stick figure sky. 3 words scrawled beneath him in a 6-year-old's careful print. My dad. Grady kept it folded in his wallet behind his driver's license, soft at the creases, going gray at the edges, like something washed too many times. He's not your real father. That's the line that opened the hearing. Renshaw stood up before the judge even called the room to order, finger jabbing toward the defense table, voice cracking down the middle like a windshield taking a rock at highway speed. Nobody in Missoula County Family Court expected a woman in a cardigan to shout. Grady didn't flinch. He'd been braced for this moment since the funeral. 2 years earlier, Lindsay had been alive, laughing in the kitchen, teaching Rowan how to spell his own name in glitter glue. Now she was a folder of medical records and a headstone out past the county line, and her mother was suing for custody of the boy Lindsay raised, the boy Grady raised, on the grounds that biology, not love, decided who got to keep him. Judge Anwin Petrosky called the room to order with a single knock of her knuckles. No gavel, just bone on wood. Ms. Renshaw, sit down or step out. Renshaw sat, barely. The auto shop had been closed for 3 days straight, first time since Grady bought it off Old Man Callahan in 2015. His mechanics kept calling, asking about the Sinclair truck waiting on a timing belt, the Corolla that needed its catalytic converter swapped before inspection stickers expired. He told them to hold every ticket. Some things mattered more than torque specs and oil pan gaskets. He sat now in a borrowed suit that didn't fit right through the shoulders, hands folded on the table like a man praying at a machine shop altar. Across the aisle, Renshaw's attorney, a sharp, bird-like woman named Odalis Fenn, was already flipping through a stack of paper thick enough to stop a door. Your Honor, Fenn began, the biological father of Rowan Hale is not and never has been Mr. Grady Colthurst. We have DNA results confirming this. The child's grandmother is the closest living blood relative, and she is prepared to provide a stable. Objection to the word stable, Grady's attorney cut in. Her name was Priya Ashford, and she said it flat, without drama, the way a mechanic calls out a bad bearing. Ms. Renshaw filed 3 complaints against her own daughter with Adult Protective Services in the last decade of Lindsay's life. 2 were dismissed for lack of merit. Judge Anwin lifted one hand. Noted. Continue, Ms. Fenn. Lindsay used to say the shop smelled like her father's garage growing up, WD-40 and burnt rubber, and something underneath that she called honest sweat. She wasn't from money, neither was Grady. They met over a busted alternator on her old Civic 3 years before Rowan was born, back when Grady still thought love was something that happened to other people. He remembered the anniversary dinner, their 3rd one. He'd reserved a table at the Bitter Root Grill, candle and all, cheap champagne sweating in a bucket he couldn't afford. Lindsay walked in wearing the green dress, and for one long minute, she didn't sit down across from him. She crossed the restaurant instead, sat with a stranger, 2 tables over, mid-30s, nervous hands, a manila envelope between them like a landmine. Grady watched from across the room, jaw tight, saying nothing. She paid both bills before she left, walked out first without a word to him, and drove straight to a courthouse the next morning. That man, Grady told the court now when Ashford called him to the stand, was Rowan's biological father, Wyatt Doss. Lindsay found him through a paternity registry 2 months before our anniversary. She didn't tell me why she wanted that dinner reservation. She just asked me to trust her. And did you? Ashford asked. Every day of my life. She got him to sign a voluntary termination of parental rights, notarized, filed, legal. I adopted Rowan 4 months later, full legal father. Not a technicality, a fact. Fen was on her feet before he finished the sentence. A signature obtained under pressure from a man who never paid a dime, never called, never once asked about that boy, Grady said. And his voice didn't rise. It just went very still, the way an engine goes quiet right before it stalls. Lindsay didn't pressure anybody. She gave him a choice. Renshaw testified after him, dabbing her eyes with a tissue that never seemed to get used, describing a grandson she'd seen maybe 6 times since he turned 4. She talked about heritage. She talked about blood. She never once used Rowan's name, just the child, over and over, like he was a line item. She wasn't there, Grady murmured to Ashford under his breath, when he had strep so bad he couldn't swallow water. She wasn't there for the school play. She wasn't there for any of it. Ashford didn't need to say it out loud in court. The judge's face said she was already keeping score. Here's where the case turned, though, not on paperwork, not on Fenn's stack of medical printouts. It turned on a 7-year-old boy in a clip-on tie, swinging his legs off the edge of a chair too big for him, holding a folded piece of paper in both hands. Petrosky leaned forward. "Rowan, honey, you don't have to be scared. Nobody's in trouble. I just want to hear what you have to say." Rowan looked at Renshaw first, then at Grady. Then, carefully, he unfolded the paper and held it up so the whole courtroom could see. Crayon, orange and blue, a stick-figure man under a stick-figure sky. "My dad," written underneath in 6-year-old print, now going 7-year-old crooked at the edges. "I drew this in 1st grade, Rowan said, voice small but not shaking. "My teacher asked us to draw our family. I drew him." He pointed and his finger landed square on Grady's chest, like he was aiming a torque wrench at the exact right bolt. "That's my dad. He taught me how to check tire pressure. He makes eggs wrong on purpose, 'cause I like 'em burnt a little. He cried at my school play and tried to hide it, and I saw. He's not my real father. He's just my real father. That's the only kind I ever had." The courtroom held that silence the way a held breath holds a room. Nobody moving, not even the court reporter's fingers. Renshaw opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Petrosky didn't take long in chambers, 20 minutes maybe, less. When she came back, she didn't read from notes. "This court has heard a great deal today about biology and comparatively little about parenting. Mr. Colthurst has a completed legal adoption, 7 years of continuous custody, and the unequivocal, uncoerced testimony of the child himself. Ms. Renshaw has heritage and grief, both of which this court respects, but neither of which constitutes cause to remove a child from the only home he has ever known." She set her pen down. "Full legal and physical custody remains with Mr. Grady Colthurst. Ms. Renshaw may petition for supervised visitation, structured through this court, no less than once monthly, provided she demonstrates good faith." Outside on the courthouse steps, autumn had turned the cottonwoods along the river the color of the crayon drawing itself, orange bleeding into a low blue sky. Rowan held Grady's hand with the drawing tucked under his other arm, refolded now, corners soft as always. "Dad?" Rowan asked, testing the word out loud like he did every so often, just to feel its weight. "Yeah, bud. Can we get the Corolla fixed today? I want to hand you the wrenches." Grady laughed, the kind of laugh that comes up from somewhere old and tired and finally allowed to rest. "Yeah, we can do that." He put the drawing backward always lived, behind his license, soft at the folds, and they walked to the truck together, past the courthouse, past the leaves, toward the only thing either of them had ever needed proof of.